You see, to keep on bringing, the Myanmarese, so-called lungi-clad militants coming and siding with protester, I think it just does not square up with what happens on the ground. Let us note for effect, the elephant in the room is deliberately refused to be addressed head-on. That's one point. The second point, and to bring, these so-called Myanmar militants into the culture of burning temples, again, does not fly off the face. In Churachandpur, not a single temple was burned, unlike what Bhagat wants us to believe. Look at the press release issued by the Marwari Society in Churachandpur, that no temple was ransacked or vandalized, as it happened extensively in the valley areas. Remember that on the very first night of the riots, more than a dozen churches were burned down in Imphal Valley areas, and there are now more than 235 churches burned down of Kuki Zomi groups. I think that has to be really, underlined
no,
here.
it is absolutely
and
false.
some of
Most
these
of the
temples,
churches,
like the Kobru,
most of the churches are Meitei churches, not Kuki churches. Most of the churches are Meitei.
Again, please check your facts, Bhagat.
Please keep your facts correct.
We might.
Please put
Bhagat,
your facts correct.
I can show you the list of churches which are burned down, unlike your hearsay.
I can also show you the name of the temple in Churachandpur you have burned.
Rely on hearsay.
Cookies have burned down.
Like your audience.
Let us not go into too meh.
Okay. I vote for everything that I say here. I'm basing all that I say on evidence. I do not base on hearsay. I can give you list of the number of churches burned down. And remember that all these so-called regularization of temples are not household temples. I do accept that the Vaishnavite Hindu extensively practice household temples inside their homes. But we are talking about 188 Hindu temples built in public places, falling within quote-unquote reserve forest, right? And I have all documentary evidence to suggest that none of these temples were regularized, unlike all the tribal churches which are refused to regularize. And it is precisely, the point of contention there, that the state is deeply complicit in this institutionalized riot system. And coming back to the Kobru Hills, remember that the kind of narrative that is built that, Kobru was razed to the ground, as if it was raised before this riot happened. Remember that after all these extensive things happened, Kobru was historically a contested site precisely because the land titles belong to the Kuki group, right? And it is preceding India's independence. And remember that this is a contested site which has been one of the targets of sacralization project of the state. And that is precisely where you have continual contestation. And given that recently the Meitei Lipun has been aggressively pushing on the sacralization of some of these, lands falling within so-called, quote-unquote tribal lands as site of religious pilgrimage, the whole political narrative that is built around is, communalized in that sense. So I think we have to be nuanced, and we have to historically locate how certain narratives or how certain contestation unravel over time without, being swayed by all this religiosity to, specifically cater to a particular electoral constituency, which might, in effect, be useful for short-term electoral gains. But in the long run, after all, the kind of reign of terror that is unleashed against tribal communities has assumed much beyond ethnic cleansing character. And I'm sorry to say that Meitei Lipun leader who continued to, in effect, spit venom and openly talk about genocide. It's another way for saying that all the Kuki who inhabited 15 stretch kilometer in the Kangkokpi, Modbung areas would be wiped out, and they will not be able to defend themselves. Is a clear warning of his genocidal intent. And let us not mistake the fact that these are the same civil society leaders, frontier organization leaders who are given full patronage and without the full complicity as well as active, connivance of the state, they would have been put behind bars already because they have committed crime of the highest degree.